Hi, my name is Julie Cotton, and I'm going to show you a little bit about Gradebook and also some tips and tricks within the Gradebook in Canvas that might be helpful. First, if you don't plan on using Canvas for your class, but you need to submit your grades, especially since WebAdvisor is going away, I'm going to show you a quick way to do that. Okay, so here is our template grade that we're going to go into. And you do have to create 2 assignments. If you're going to submit a midterm grade, which I believe is required, you'll have to create one for that, and then also a final grade. I put random points on there. You can put the number of points that will be done at that time. You can also change that to a percentage or credit, no credit. And so then in the Gradebook it'll look like this, where you'll have the 2 columns, and this is where you'll enter the grade just by clicking here, and then for instance this one is only worth 400 points, so let's say the student got 375, and say this one is actually the student did better than that. And so these are the two grades that they've gotten. And if you notice, there's a little number here that's 3.5. If you haven't set up a grading scheme, then that number will not appear, and when you go to submit grades, it will not work. So once you get the grading scheme set up, and I've made it really easy for you, all you have to do is go into Settings, and under the course details you'll scroll down about halfway. It says enable course grading. Make sure that's checked. Click on the view grading scheme, and this is the grading scheme that Glen Oaks uses. It is a grade point average grading scheme with the 4.0, and I manually typed this in and then found out that I could actually do a default one for everyone. First, if you want to change this at all, you would just select the little pencil and then change it according to what percentages you want to use. The standard, as I said, that Glen Oaks uses is this, but you do have the right to change the percentage. But it will not work going into Colleague if you don't have the 4.0, 3.5, 3.0, and 2.5. Percentages are up to you. The name of the game is not. So you click Save, and then this is your grade scale. If you log in and you see a different grade scale, or you just want to not mess with anything, go to Select Another Grade Scheme, and you will see the GOCC GPA grade scheme is available to you. And click on that, and then say use this grading scheme, and it'll come up with the Glen Oaks, and then hit done. But most importantly, go down and click Update Course Details. If you don't do that, everything you just did will not change. Okay, so that's how you do it if you're going to use Canvas to update your grades. Another thing that you do want to teach your students to log into Canvas, so when they log in, they will see these assignments and they'll have access to the grades. And we also have access to the course evaluation, which we are trying to do all of them online, so this is the best way for them to access it. So make sure they know their username and password, and that way they can see their final grades and midterm grades and access the course evaluation. And then when you go to submit the grades, you scroll down and hit Submit Grades, and it'll look like this, and they'll list all your students. And then if you agree with the grade that is showing based on what was in the midterm, go ahead and hit Submit, and for the final grades you just switch the tab. And again, if the grades are okay, you can hit Submit. But if the student did fail or dropped out, you do need the last day attended. I am not sure what expired date is, but put the last date attended so that, especially if they've dropped out or never attended, and then hit submit. Okay, so that's the just real basic template. And now we'll go into, if you're actually going to use Canvas for your assignments and tests and other fun things, click on your class, and here's the modules displayed for how the class is set up. If you need any help setting up things, get a hold of me and I can either help you or direct you to instructions on how to set the various things up. So let's go into this gradebook. Right here, you can see the total. You can display as points. If you're not using a weighted grade scale, that is. You can move this total from move to the front or move to the end. So if I hit move to the end, it's now at the very end. It's much easier to see it when it's at the front. And you can also notice that on this one, you're seeing a red mark. That is a color-coded to show when something is late or never handed in. Another thing that is really important, let's say the student actually never handed in this and never handed in the written project. And if you look at the grade, it still looks like they've got an okay grade. Because when Canvas does calculate the grade, it uses all the columns that there is actually a grade in. If there is nothing in that column, they will not include it. So before you finalize your grades, or as you're grading, make sure that you click on set the default grade and make sure you select this to 0 and do not overwrite already entered grades, because if you click that, all the grades you've entered will go away in that column. And then you say default grade and it's going to change one student's score and say okay. Another trick though is if you do use due dates on all of your assignments, you can easily change it by automatically apply grade for missing submissions to 0. And you can even deduct percentage of points if they're late. And I'm going to unclick that. Okay, and so then it will automatically put a 0 in the late assignments. Again, that's good only if you do use due dates. If you don't use due dates, you do need to do it by column as set default grade. Okay, now if you do weight your grades, you would do that under assignments. And so if you go into assignments, if you haven't broken them up into different groups, you will need to do that. And you do that by clicking a group and then naming it, let's say final project. And say save. And then you want to move your final project or whatever assignments into that grading group. And if you notice, it's only worth 100 points here. So by points, everything will be based on the number of points. But if you go into assignment groups that are weighted, you click on that and then it'll show the groups that you've got. Let's say this is 25% and the tests are going to be 20 and the written assignments are going to be 35. and the discussion boards will be 20. Just make sure it adds up to 100, and then click Save. And now if you go into the grades, the student now has a 3.5 because they did better on the written assignment and the final project, even though on the test and then the person that didn't do very well actually is going to fail because they didn't do the important projects. But this one, I forgot to set the default grade to 0. And now they actually even have 35% because they did not have a written grade. But say the student actually did submit that, out of 100 points got 50. It did raise their grade a little bit, but still not passing. So again, if you're doing points, the total can be in points, but if you're using a weighted average, it cannot. And then the groupings will also show at the end to show what percentage they got in each of the weighted categories. Okay, and then another little feature that you can do to help your gradebook is go under statuses. And again, if the student handed it in late, it'll be blue, and if it's missing, it'll be red. If they resubmitted it, it's green, and if they dropped it or excused it, it'll be these colors. And if you want to change the color, so say if it's missing, you want it to be like bright red, you can go to, this is a HTML coding. There is a website that you can go to get, go to colors, COOLORS.co. You can explore the different colors, and then say you decide you want a pretty bright red, just click on it and then go back, actually, and then paste, and make sure the pound sign's in front of it, and then hit apply. And you can change all your missing to really dark red that'll stand out. And you can do that, it's again under view and then statuses, and you can change that for anything. If you want late to be more of that pinkish, you can, and that way you'll know when something's late too. But if you don't use due dates, late doesn't count. And then back to assignments, add assignments to Canvas, they'll all be under one group. Or if you roll your content in, you may have an assignments group and then another assignments group, and in order to weight things properly, you need to separate them into the different groups, and the way you move things is holding this waffle and then dragging it down to where you want it, and then moving it back up into the proper categories. Oh, and one other thing, all assignments do have to be published, and you do that by clicking this. If it isn't published, it'll look like this. This essay has no points, so I do not want to include it. To change this and have it a different color, just click on that and you can change and apply it. If you want your course to have a picture here, go into the course and under settings, you can choose an image, and that will show up on the dashboard also. And another important thing on the modules, which I strongly recommend using, And under settings, if you want to hide, which I also strongly recommend, things that you're not going to be using, go to settings and go to navigation, and then any of these things that you're not going to use, you can either drag them up or, and I'm not going to use the lockdown browser, so then you scroll it down. I recommend leaving the library, the Follow It Discover. If you're not going to use Zoom, have that taken down below. Zoom does have to be on the upper part if you are going to use it with the students. Please don't move course evaluation because we do want the student to be able to access that. And submit grades, you should leave or move it back up when you're actually going to do that. And then make sure you hit save. And that way when the student logs in, you can see the student view. It looks a lot cleaner than if you left everything up there, and they have just what they need to get through your course. One other thing that is in Canvas that all faculty should be aware of is simple syllabus. Let me go into a course that's this semester, and you click on that. Amanda, I hope you don't mind me showing your syllabus. And then click on Simple Syllabus, and the syllabus will show up, and then you edit it. It is required to have your syllabus in Simple Syllabus. So again, this is one way of getting there. Another is to log in directly to Simple Syllabus. Okay, that ends my session today. I hope this has been informative, and if you need any help, don't hesitate to get a hold of me.